The Hobbit, Chapter 1, An Unexpected Party, third video. This is a story of how a Baggins had an adventure and found himself doing and saying things altogether unexpected. He may have lost the neighbours' respect, but he gained, well, you will see whether he gained anything in the end. The mother of our particular Hobbit. What is a Hobbit? I suppose Hobbits need some description nowadays, since they have become rare and shy of the big people, as they call us. And now, in the text, we're going to have a digression, right? So remember, digression is I'm telling a story, and suddenly I remember, I'm going to talk about that. So I deviate, right, from the original story and say something and then go back to the story. So before the digression, let me ask you some questions. Maybe tell me something that is pretty rare nowadays. Answer. Well, I would say that people who really watch movies are pretty rare nowadays, because in my opinion, if you're watching a movie and you have your cell phone and you stop the movie, or even worse, you don't stop the movie to check your cell phone, you're not watching the movie. If you're watching the movie and you are talking while the movie is going on, you are not watching the movie. If you're watching a movie and you go to the kitchen to get, something to eat, you're not watching a movie, right? Good movies are watched with attention. Of course, bad movies you can watch, even sleeping. I mean, bad movies are better watched while you are sleeping. But I think it's very rare nowadays that people really watch a movie. Alright? Nowadays is another important word. Remember, nowadays is like in the present moment. Okay? Remember, please, never to use actually for nowadays, right? Atualmente, right? Actually, people are no. Actually is something like to tell the truth, right? Okay. Let me read it one more time, and instead of asking questions, I'm going to give you some tips regarding vocabulary. This is a story of how a Baggins had an adventure and found himself doing and saying things altogether, it's like completely unexpected. He may have lost the neighbor's respect, so maybe you can say that he has lost the neighbor's respect, but he gained, well, you will see whether, it's the same thing as if, you will see if he gained anything in the end. The mother of our particular Hobbit. What is a Hobbit? I suppose Hobbit needs some description nowadays. Since, be careful, because remember, since here is not I've been working at CCA since 2006. This since is because the Hobbits need some explaining, some description nowadays, because they have become rare and shy of people. They don't like to meet people, the big people, as they call us. Continuing. They are, or were, a little people, about half our height, okay, how tall we are, we call height, and smaller than the bearded dwarves. Hobbits have no beards. There is little or no magic about them, except the ordinary everyday sort, which helps them to disappear quietly and quickly when large stupid folk like you and me come blundering along, making a noise like elephants, which they can hear a mile off. Look, there is something very interesting here, right? That's not only talking about not only talking about the vocabulary and etc. It's interesting because, look, if you know The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, you know that in both of those books and all the opus by Tolkien, they're very respected, right? They're very pure creatures. Remember, it was a hobbit who was the only strong enough person, all right, or being to carry the ring, right? Even Gandalf refused the task. Okay, even Gandalf refused the task. And then the question is, why did Gandalf refuse the task? Because it was too hard. The temptation was too hard, right? So you have these creatures that in a sense are stronger than Gandalf. Okay, keep in mind that. That's very important. Very, very important to keep in mind. In a sense, the hobbits are stronger than Gandalf. In a sense. Of course, in the others, absolutely not, right? And these little creatures have no magic about them. These little creatures have no magic about them. Keep that in mind, alright? Just, of course, this everyday kind of magic, just like a squirrel. You know, a squirrel has a certain kind of magic that if you enter, I don't know, a wooded area, the woods, the squirrel will hear you and be able to get away without you perceiving it, right? Or could it, some people wouldn't even call it magic. Keep that fact in mind. Also, I would like you to keep in mind that we know, not only from The Lord of the Rings, but from the other books, that Gandalf is extremely powerful. Extremely powerful, alright? But we get kind of frustrated because in most of the time, he doesn't use his power. Right? I mean, he goes to the battle and he fights just as any human would fight, and he gives advices, and he guides people. Right? It seems sometimes that he chooses not to use his magic. And if you think about it, remember there was a moment Gandalf found out what the ring was, you know. And again, he could have used his power. Not only, I think that's the point, not only he could have used his power, but he could have improved his magical powers, you know, hugely, almost infinitely. He chose not to. He chose to give the ring to a hobbit, a being that has no magic at all, except the everyday kind of magic. Alright? Let's keep that in mind. Well, I have a question. Not about this, but about vocabulary. In what occasion would a person enter blundering in a room? Right? Answer? Well, for the hobbit, any human, right? Or practically any human being. But I don't know, imagine if the person is drunk and the person enters, I don't know, a room full of glasses, you know, that person would enter blundering around, dropping things and etc. Right? So let me read this part again. There is little or no magic about them, except the ordinary everyday sort. Sort means kind here. So they just have this everyday kind of magic, which helps them disappear, but not disappear like this, right? Disappear quietly and quickly when large stupid folk, remember folk is another way to say man, a person, right? By the way, that's why we call our folks, you know, my folks, like my parents, right? And why we call folklore, the tales, the stories of people in general, you know, not not a writer or anything, right? So it's like the tale of folklore, right? Well, so they disappeared quickly when large stupid folk like you and me come blundering along, making a noise like elephants, which they, the hobbits, can hear a mile off. They are inclined to be fat in the stomach, meaning they have this tendency to be fat in the stomach. They dress in bright colors, chiefly green and yellow. So they dress here is they wear bright colors, right? Mainly, this is another way to say chiefly, or most of the time, most commonly green and yellow. Where they wear no shoes because their feet grow naturally leather soles. The sole is the part under your foot, and their soles are not like our skin, right? They have their soles like leather, just like the skin of a cow, for example, is leather, right? So they have leathery soles. They have soles with the quality of leather. And thick, not thin, thick, not thin, thick, and thick, warm brown hair that is stuff on their heads, which is curly, right? Curly like this. They have long, clever meaning, how do I say? They have agility, right? In their fingers. So they have long, clever fingers. Good-natured face. You look at their faces and you feel happy, right? It's a friendly face. You look at their face and you can be a friend. You would never imagine, a hobbit would do something bad. I don't know, like stealing something from another hobbit and killing that other hobbit to keep that precious thing. No, you would never imagine something like that would happen, because they have good-natured faces, right? And they laugh. They have this laugh, ha 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 ha, deep and fruity, just like fruit, right? Especially after dinner, which they had twice a day when they can get it. One more time, because I stopped a lot to talk to you about vocabulary. They are inclined to be fat in the stomach. They dress in bright colors, chiefly green and yellow. Wear no shoes because their feet grow natural leathery soles, and thick warm brown hair like the stuff on their heads. So on their feet they had hair like the hair on their heads, which is curly. Have long, clever brown fingers, good-natured face, and laugh deep, fruity laughs, especially after dinner, which they have twice a day when they can get it.